Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar where we will be discussing mindfulness techniques. My name is Stephanie Hurst and I'm the Member Program Specialist for the National Apartment Association. Thank you for joining us. Before we get started, I want to go over a few housekeeping points. This presentation is being recorded and will be posted on the webinars page of the NAA website early next week. During the discussion, you may type questions into the Q&A or chat boxes on your screen, and we will share them with our presenter. We have left time at the end for questions. And now I will turn the microphone over to Katie Wren, a member of NAA's Next Gen Committee, to introduce today's outstanding speaker. Katie?
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Shakira Stern is a two-time author, editor-in-chief, and founder of the worldwide sisterhood movement, the Mixed Girl Meetup. Shakira was bullied for most of her childhood, leading her to have no confidence at all. Through the help of continuous affirmations and mindful practices, as an adult, she was able to turn pain into power by starting a community of her own, which focuses on creating unique, safe spaces to vent without fear of being judged, building confidence, making new, genuine friends, healing low self-esteem, helping with identity issues, and assisting with personal encouragement by speaking life into others. Shakira's work has been featured in the Daily Mail, Meetup.com, and Yahoo Finance, with her community recently reaching 15,000 member mark. Her community now has ladies present on all 5 continents. Shakira is a firm believer that it's never too late to heal. The limiting beliefs we all have in our subconscious minds can be fixed by continuously incorporating mindfulness practices into our day. Please join me in welcoming everyone, Shakira.
Thank you so much, Katie. Welcome, everyone. Wow, what an intro. Incredible. So welcome, everyone. So today we will be discussing the importance of mindset and really embracing the present moment. As Katie just mentioned, in my short biography, my childhood and teenage years weren't really very pleasant, and I started out with having zero confidence. So what really helped me was to really implement several mindfulness exercises, which I will go through with all of you today. So let's first of all actually look at what mindset is. So defining mindset as it actually just stands from a science point of view. So simply put, mindset is a succession of thoughts that our mind automatically thinks. So it is automatic because the neural pathways or thoughts are set in our mind. And the crazy part, when I started learning about it, is that it's actually built when we're children. So when we're 0 to 7 years old, this is when this is all formed and basically stays with us for the rest of our lives until we change the programming, so to speak. It's determined by how we're raised, the things that happen to us, and those thought processes drive our lives. So being, behaviors or the way we react to something or the way we are in our relationships, whether that's romantic, friendships, or family. So there's a famous author called Danielle Burnock, and she mentions that mindsets are why we succeed or fail at things. And actually, when you look around, I'm sure everyone in this webinar is aware that it's really, really challenging in this day and age to be naturally positive. I certainly don't have every day where I wake up, I'm like, oh my God, I love my life. So you really have to just weave your way through. There's so much fear, scarcity, violence, resistance, apathy, and other negative things thrown at us from every angle, whether you look on your TV or your newspaper, or you're speaking to a friend or someone at your workplace. There is always some type of negativity coming to you from some type of angle. So for this reason, it is necessary we cultivate a positive mindset and attitude, which will lead, again, from day-to-day positive emotions. Now, this is the part that I feel changed my life because, and I would love for all of you to tell me in the chat how you feel about this, because I used to think that maybe it's me, maybe I'm just, my mind, I overthink and I think about things too much and there's something wrong with me. But actually, when we take it back to science and really our ancestor, our brain is actually hardwired to focus on the negative. So just to give you an example, so imagine you're at work, right? So your superior, your manager or supervisor, whoever, imagine there's a scenario where you have a project and your supervisor would praise you on, for example, 5 different things. And then he suggests 2 areas of improvement where he is, so to speak, criticizing you. What do you remember from that? Most of the time we remember the negative comments, right? And there's actually a scientific reason for that. That's called the negativity bias. So, and this is actually rooted all the way back to our ancestors when we were speaking about hunter-gatherers, like that far back. So our innate human reaction is sort of an evolutionary holdover that kept our ancestors safe in a threat-filled world. So those who expected the worst were more likely to survive, and those pessimistic genes were then passed on. So there's a psychologist called Dr. Carla Marie Manley, and she mentions that in neurobiology, there's something called Hebb's rule. So there's a gentleman called Donald Hebb, and this dates back all the way to 1949. And he mentioned something where he says, neurons that fire together, wire together. So the more we do something, the more it becomes hardwired in our brain. All right, so now the good news. So this is the kind of depressing part. The good news is with practice and patience, Hebb's rule can actually work in our favor. So we can actually train our brains to start firing and wiring together more positive thoughts. And in doing so, we can create new neural pathways. So this is sort of in your frontal lobe, your amygdala, where your, for example, your reactions, your emotions are stored. And in even better research, you can actually, with those mental shifts, also affect your physical health. So this is all connected, mind, body, and soul, right? Now, I think is one of the most important parts. So how do we actually identify if we have self-limiting beliefs, right? So not everyone has this. And a lot of the times we aren't even aware that we have self-limiting beliefs. So I want to ask all of you in the audience to ask yourself some questions, right? So for example, right, and this could be in any setting. This could be with your family, with your loved one, with a friend, or if you're in a store and you're asking a question. You can't or find it difficult to say no, right? That is one thing. So ask yourself, are you having difficulty with that? You feel as if you're caught in a never-ending spiral of sameness. So there's a routine and you don't seem to be able to get out of it. It's always the same thing, right? And sometimes as a result of that or separate, you do not feel motivated or inspired. And one that I personally struggled with a lot when I was younger is you go to great lengths to avoid conflict. And sort of a slash to that, I used to be super scared to speak up. So I had this, and this all comes down to people pleasing. I don't want to go too much into psychology, but this is a post-traumatic response, right? So when I went through bullying, of course, I didn't feel that my voice mattered or someone wanted to listen to me. So therefore, my brain, again, our brains are designed to keep us safe, right? So your subconscious mind thinks, well, if I don't speak up, then I will be liked, and there will be no issues. So you would go to great lengths to avoid conflict. Another sign to see if you have a self-limiting belief is you overcommit your time. Right? So you're here, there, everywhere. And when it gets to 11 p.m. at night, you have no time for yourself. You're absolutely exhausted. And then you just sink into your bed and you're like, oh my gosh, and you just fall asleep. And the last one I want to leave you with, ask yourself if you apologize often. And I don't mean when you're at fault, when you, for example, you were late for something. I mean, for example, oh, I'm sorry, I talk too much. Oh, I'm sorry, can I say something? Like sort of limiting yourself in a way that you feel like your voice doesn't matter, your opinion doesn't matter, and what you are saying isn't relevant. So how can we actually take our mindset from autopilot to thriving? So this is the next slide. So there are a lot of techniques, but I will go over the three main ones, and then we will do some interactive exercises. So the three ways to improve mindset. The first one is to create a positivity stockpile. So I'm sure a lot of you in the chat know, so sometimes we can be in a real mental downward spiral. And to be really honest with you, there are going to be some days where you're going to find it really, really hard to recall any type of happy thoughts in the moment. So this is really designed to kind of slowly start changing that narrative you tell yourself. So here's what I made earlier. Right, so you're gonna get yourself an empty glass jar. So this is kind of like a mason jar. And in this jar, you're going to fill it with little slips of paper. And on those pieces of paper, you're going to include, for example, and honestly, this doesn't have to be this intricate exercise. You could even write out a nice text message you got from your best friend or your mom. You could write a positive poem, things you are grateful for, or a memory that you remember from, for example, one of your holidays. And what this does, so you're going to collect this, right? And once it's full, you're just going to get another jar. You can get these for like $1 or something, or if I'm in the UK, it's like £2. So what this does, once we remember these uplifting memories, it actually triggers feel-good neurochemicals in our brain, such as serotonin. So as a direct example, for those of you who are on social media, when you post something and you get a like, right, or someone comments something really nice, you do feel like that kind of nice feeling inside, right? That is the same neurochemical being triggered in your brain, which is called serotonin, right? The second thing that we can do is actually reframe our thoughts. So this is one of the, I would say, main techniques that have helped me when I was bullied. To be honest, back then, I didn't know any of this. All I knew was that I had to somehow get out of this. And I honestly didn't know. Most days I would come home crying. And the person who taught me everything about mindfulness, affirmations, was my mom. And what she did essentially was reframing my thoughts, right? And that is something that it takes practice. It's like when you go to the gym, you're going to be really annoyed. I'm definitely not a gym person, but you just have to go, okay, cool. I have to train myself. It's like a muscle, right? So if you find yourself stuck with a stream of negative thoughts, try a helpful technique. This is actually used in cognitive behavioral therapy. So what you're going to do, you're going to jot down the thoughts you're having in that very moment. And then you begin to ask yourself questions about each of those. And you're going to determine how valid are those thoughts really. So the questions you can ask yourself, and if you want to write that down in a notebook, please do. So you have the emotion here on this side, you're feeling depressed, you're feeling sad, you're feeling hurt, you're feeling anxious, whatever negative emotion you have here on this side, right? And you're going to put a line in the middle. And what my mom used to do, so we have the bad emotions here. She said, just tell me everything you're feeling right now. Let's go through it bit by bit, right? So imagine you're crying, you're like, oh my gosh, and like you're super sad. And it almost kind of pulls you out of that zone, right? On the other side, we're going to now address each thought, right? First one being, is the thought fact or emotion? Is this emotion a temporary emotion, or is it here to stay? So the scenario you have in your head, how likely is it to happen, right? We're still here on this side. And how will you feel about this in a week's time? So you cannot think about anything else than being sad right now, but how will you feel about this in a week's time? and just kind of pulling yourself out of that situation. So imagine one of your close friends is going through this. What would you tell a close friend about this, right? So why we do all of this is to really kind of stop our thoughts in our tracks, right? So the third technique I would say is really meditating for mindfulness, and we're going to be going through various exercises now. So it's really about learning to stop your mind from harassing you. That's how I just have to say it bluntly, because most of the time we're really in our head. So meditation can help you to train your brain to engage in thoughts that feel good and not engage with those that don't. So I don't know if any of you are near your kitchen, but I would love to share an exercise with you. So if you have any type of fruit in your, maybe near you, maybe an apple or an orange or any type of food that has a interesting texture or a smell or a taste. And the reason why I say this, right? Again, one of my props. So here's what I made earlier. So this is probably one of the most, I would say, more basic exercises. Is good if you're just starting out with mindfulness. So it's a great introductory exercise for beginners. If you've never done any mindfulness exercises, this is the one to start with, right? So you can use any type of food. On my plate here, I have raisins. I don't know if you can see it here. And you ideally want to get a food that is kind of interesting. I feel like, yeah, it's very wrinkly looking, right? Raisins. So something that's unusual in texture, smell, or taste is best. So that's why I mentioned an orange, or maybe, I suppose, grapes, anything that you have around you, right? So the idea of this exercise is that you are pretending that you've never seen a raisin before, right? So I'm feeling this raisin, right? And you have to pay really careful attention to it. So what I want you to do, and you don't have to do this now, you can do this in your own time. The way the raisin looks, so you're going to really observe, how does this actually look? How does it feel, right? So I'm touching this right now and it feels, actually just thinking of it, I'm so used to eating it, it feels really strange, like really wrinkly. Then how does your skin respond to its manipulation? So I don't know if you can see in the camera. So if I'm pressing it, it's changing forms. How does it smell? Is there a smell to this type of food? And what is the taste? So for the purpose of this seminar, I'm not going to eat on camera now, but how does it taste? So you want to look at the way it looks, the way it feels, how your skin responds to its manipulation, the smell, and the taste, right? So focusing on a simple object of this raisin is basically meant to bring your mind back to the present moment, right? So you're not thinking about the deadline that you've got at your workplace that's due in 5 days and you're going crazy because you have been procrastinating. You are focusing on these wrinkly raisins right now, okay? So we may be used to raisins, but we're not actually used to taking the time to actually notice them, right? So by focusing on the raisin in our hands and making a point to notice everything about it, we are unlikely to be expending energy, time, attention on worrying or ruminating about other parts of our lives, right? And when you really follow these instructions and take notice, it's much easier to focus what's in front of you. And if your mind does wander, this is also natural. Remember, if you're just starting out with this, it's a natural reaction. You know, it takes at least 21 days for a habit to stick. So your mind will play tricks on you. But the way I always saw it is that, you know, you have to kind of make your mind your friend, right? Just gently guide yourself back to the exercise. Now, another interactive exercise we can do together is called the body scan. It sounds really actually quite scary, but it's not as scary as I'm making it out to be. So this is really popular in mindfulness because it requires no tools or props. You can do this anywhere. You can do this at work. You can do this, I don't know, on the train or on the plane. You can do this anywhere. And the idea is that you are doing this sort of a minimum of 10 minutes, right? So this was founded by a gentleman called John Kabat-Zinn. You can also look this up on YouTube. And a typical body scan runs through each part of your body, right? And you want to be paying special attention to the way each area feels. So the scan usually moves systematically, so through the entire body, but we will start at the feet and then we move upwards. And the best way is to be doing with your eyes closed. So for example, you're closing your eyes and you're focusing on your feet. Are your feet standing firm? What do I feel in my feet right now? Are you wearing shoes? How do my feet feel? And then you're going to, and it's almost like a tingle you start feeling, and you're going to be going upwards. And when you have your eyes closed, it will sort of help you. It's a bit of a trick I use as well, just to have you more relaxed, rather than there's probably something around you there to distract you, right? Now, another way we can actually be really mindful and create a mindful exercise is mindful seeing. And again, these sound so basic, but they will really change your entire just thoughts and the way you think about things, because you are learning to be in the present moment and embracing the present moment. This is why we call this webinar Embracing the Present Moment, because when we are actually fully rooted in that present moment, we are able to manifest a lot more great things, because we're not worried about what happened yesterday when Barry in HR told me to, I don't know, make sure I fill out that form, or there'll be some trouble, or if I can pay this type of bill because I haven't had a pay rise. You know, you are in the present moment, and therefore being able to be grateful in the moment that you are currently. So when we look at mindful seeing, for some, sort of the absence of visual stimuli can feel quite stifling, actually. So a healthy imagination doesn't come to everyone, but we can kind of, again, it's a bit of a trick, right? So it's a really simple exercise. So you can do this right now if you want, if you are near a window, or you can do this outside of our call. So you would want to ideally go to a window that's open, or where it's clear, you can see right through, possibly with some nature at the front, or if it's a busy street. And you want to find a space at a window where there are sights to be seen. Could be anything, even if all you see is the brick wall from somewhere, or you can see your neighbor's house, some type of scenery, right? So that's the first step. You're going to find space at a window where there are sights. And number two, you're now going to look at everything there is to see, right? And the difference now with mindful seeing, we are very, very quick to start labeling. So you want to avoid labeling and categorizing what you see outside the window. So instead of thinking, for example, bird or stop sign, try to notice the colors, the patterns, or the textures. So for example, as I mentioned, right, are you seeing a brick wall? What is the pattern here? Is it just brown, yellow, brown, yellow? What are the patterns? What are the colors? What are you seeing in front of you? And try to really refrain from labeling it, right? So step three, you want to pay attention to the movement. So that could be the movement of the grass, or the leaves in the breeze, or if you live on a busy street, the people passing by. And you want to notice the many different shapes present in this sort of small segment of the world you can see. So it's kind of trying to see the world outside your window, but from the perspective of someone unfamiliar with these sites, right? So the idea is you're taking yourself out of this sameness, right? The sameness that we mentioned at the beginning. You want to take yourself out of this, oh yeah, I've seen this already. Yeah, okay, great. Okay, but what have you not seen there before? Really pulling yourself out of that ego state and saying, okay, I will just observe now. And that's also a fourth step. So be observant, but not critical. So be aware, but not fixated. So I'm not guiding you to literally just be like this. And just if you live with someone, they might just say, okay, are you okay? Like, what is going on? Why do you look like you're possessed? So you don't want to do it like that. So you are aware, simply it's a mindful awareness, right? What am I aware of? What am I observing, right? So you're not going to look like you're possessed. You're just going to look and you're going to notice things that you're seeing, right? And again, please don't be hard on yourself. So if you become distracted, gently pull your mind away from those thoughts. And again, you can just notice a color or a shape, or this old lady just passed by and you're noticing what she's wearing. You know, it's anything that you can kind of just see and just focus on briefly that can quickly pull you back to that distraction, right? So if you just remembered, oh, I need to do this. Oh, no, we're going to focus on this. And even if you are not able to focus for very long, just do it in small steps, right? Remember that you're building a muscle, right? So you could start with 2 minutes, then we'll do 5 minutes after a week, then we'll do 10 minutes, then we'll do 20, half an hour. You really want to be doing it in a way where it, first of all, is comfortable to you, and then you are going upwards, right? The other mindfulness exercise is the observer meditation. So really important to mention here. This webinar is not about us sitting at a waterfall and then everything is quiet around us. Realistically, most of us don't live near waterfalls, so it's not gonna happen. So what I found really helped me is being able to meditate anywhere. It is really something that comes from inside, right? So the observer meditation looks at why it's actually worthwhile to detach from our internal thoughts and feelings. An important part of this is acceptance and commitment therapy, where mindfulness really plays a large role, right? So you want to adopt an observer perspective, which helps you to put some distance between who you are, the problematic domains in your life, and why you might be over-identifying with. Remember how I said in the beginning, you may have a limiting self-belief that, for example, your voice doesn't matter, that you need to work, 18 hours a day in order to, be fully accepted at your workplace or rewarded. So these kind of beliefs, you sometimes over-identify with them and feel like, well, I can't get out of it. How would I get out of it? So really removing yourself from these thoughts. So to begin the exercise, you would follow these steps. So you'd find a comfortable seated position, right? And you are listening to a script, right? And when I say script, I mean, this is the script that's running in our head, right? It's continuously running. What am I actually hearing? I'm really listening in. What is the first thing that comes to your mind, right? So let yourself settle into your body and your mind. And I always feel like it's easier when you close your eyes. What is a thought that comes straight to mind? Or if there's 10 thoughts, right? Really listen. What kind of script is running in my mind right now? Now, again, we're going to remove ourselves from that, right? So try to let go of thoughts and clear the mind of its usual consideration. So the usual program that you're running, right? And you want to focus your attention first to the room you're sitting in. Then, now comes the really important part. You're going to picture yourself from the outside as you sit. So exactly as if you were some type of outsider or someone that's looking at you through a window, or someone just came into the room and you are looking at yourself from the outside. Now you want to shift your attention inwards into your skin, right? So try and feel your skin as you're sitting in the chair, right? So what are you feeling? How is my skin feeling? Now, try to envision the shape that your skin is making as you sit in contact with the chair. So actually, the way it sounds crazy, but it's such a nice exercise because we do not pay attention to this, right? So you want to shift your awareness toward any physical sensations you're experiencing, right? So I kind of got goosebumps right now, for example, talking in front of a lot of people. I'm just imagining these are my friends. So I've got goosebumps. That's the sensation I'm feeling right now. And as you feel each one, acknowledge its existence before letting your consciousness let go of it and moving on naturally, right? So you want to release it. Now, if you find that are any kind of emotions that are coming up, maybe you are starting to feel emotional, you're starting to feel doubtful, I cannot do this, is stupid, why am I doing this? Why would I be doing something like this? The important thing is to always recognize them and acknowledge them. I think there's a big disconnect in society where we feel that when we are feeling upset, sad, angry, or we're feeling misunderstood, that, okay, well, just get over it. No, what do you mean get over it? I have to work through it first. So I had to work through my pain from being bullied, through feeling ugly, through feeling like I never could have any friends. That takes time to actually sit with those emotions and sit with those thoughts. So please, when you do these exercises, recognize those feelings and create a space for them. And as soon as you have created this space, bring your attention back to your observing self. And if you want to have a little mini trick, what helped me is to always write it down. If you have a journal, I'm sure many of you have heard of this. When you journal, you are releasing those kind of pent up thoughts and emotions that I always say that they live on paper. Then first they're living inside of you. And then if I write them down, they're living on paper now. So you can't bother me too much anymore, right? So your feelings and thoughts are there, but please remember, you are separate from them, right? So this is the observer you. And the exercise can be continued for as long as you desire. So there's no time limit, there is no minimum. If you want to do this for an hour, that's incredible. I usually do it in sections. So I do one in the morning, so I do my gratitude, then I do my journaling, and then I have the observer meditation, and it's sort of for 10 minutes. You don't need to do it for a long time, but if you want to do it longer, it's absolutely fine. The idea is you practice being an observer of yourself, right? So often our mind plays tricks on us and we start to identify with self-limiting beliefs, and we start to identify with a negative narrative. And again, of course, it's all around you. It's on the news, it's on the TV, it's everywhere, right? So you have to start removing yourself from that, right? So it's not an easy exercise because we're just inclined to react and just over-identify, like, oh my gosh, what is Shakira talking about? What is going on with raisins? So it's really important to just recognize that. And you're building a muscle. Really be kind with yourself. And just, if you're having trouble stepping outside of your own head and body, just try maybe taking a self-compassion pause, right? So that the experience is more comfortable, right? The goal of evoking the observing self is just to enter a separate mode, right? And it allows you to step back from yourself and your experiences. So no matter what you have been through, right, you want to separate yourself from that. And simultaneously, however you are connecting with a deeper, constant self, is unaffected, right, by your dynamic of emotions. So it's completely separate. Now, the fifth one I want to go through with you, it's on paper, sounds quite simple, but it is, again, taking everything into account, mind, body, and soul, right? It's called the 5 senses exercise. This is called the 5 senses because it provides guidelines on practicing mindfulness quickly. It's sort of, again, like the observer exercise, you can do this in nearly any situation. So for example, you just went to Target and you're sitting in your car, should I drive off? You can do it right there and then, right? So all that is needed really is to notice something you're experiencing with each of your 5 senses, okay? So not just smell, I'm talking all the 5, right? So you want to follow this order, right? First of all, you want to notice 5 things that you can see, right? So for example, right now I can see I have a glass of water here, right? I'm not going to count 5 just because we're short for time. But you want to notice 5 things that you see around you, okay? Now look around you and bring your attention, to anything that you don't normally notice. Like, is there a shadow, or is there like some type of small crack in the concrete that you see at the parking lot, right? Anything that you can notice, right? Now, the second one, notice 4 things. So 4 things that you can feel, right? What can you feel right now? So are you feeling calm, or is there like some type of tingle? I feel like I still have goosebumps. So bring your awareness to 4 things that you're currently feeling, like the texture of your pants, for example, the feeling of the breeze if you've got your window down, the feeling of the breeze on your skin, or maybe like a smooth surface, of a table that you're resting your hands on. Anything you can kind of feel, right? Now, the third one, notice 3 things that you can hear. Of course, if you're outside, super easy. There's going to be so much going on, right? But if you're at home, it may be a bit more tricky, right? Maybe you can hear your neighbors, or if you're near some nature, you can hear the birds, right? It's going to literally be the chirping of a bird, or maybe even, you're going to laugh, the humming of the refrigerator. Or maybe it's like the faint sounds of traffic from a nearby road. Anything that you can hear, and you just have to have 3, right? Then notice 2 things you can smell. So bring your awareness to smells that you usually filter out, whether they're pleasant or unpleasant. So perhaps, the breeze is carrying some type of whiff of like pine trees, or if you're outside, the smell of a fast food restaurant, there's, I don't know, it's Wendy's around the corner, wherever you are in the world. And the last one, notice 1 thing that you can taste, so just 1, right? So focus on the thing that you can taste right now at this very moment, right? So you can take a sip of a drink, chew a piece of gum, eat something, notice the current taste in your mouth, or even just open your mouth to search for a taste, right? So this is a really quick and relatively easy exercise to bring you sort of back to a mindful state quickly. And you only need 1 or 2 minutes. So you can do this any time of the day, right? And you don't need to do it when you first wake up. It's a bit of a myth that we have to do all our mindfulness in the morning. I'm not a morning person, but I do it throughout the day. So I know I'm not that super on board for everything in the morning. Okay, cool. So I'll do it around 10 a.m. when I feel more alive after I've had my coffee, right? So it's really sort of something that you can do at any given moment, right? And I want to close off with the last exercise that you can do on your own outside of here, or if you are in a group. And some of you may have heard of this. It's probably one of the most famous breathing techniques in the world. There's a gentleman called Dr. Andrew Weil, and he came up with the 4-7-8 breathing technique. And this is probably going to be one of the most important breathing techniques you'll ever learn, right? So whether you deal with anxiety on a regular basis, or you just feel stressed, you probably know there's power in just slowing down and taking a deep breath, right? But there's so much more to it. So what you might not know is that while you're focusing on your breath, is actually an excellent way to calm yourself, right? So the cadence in which you breathe may be even more important and lead to greater stress reducing benefits, right? So in particular, this is this 4-7-8 breathing technique. And it's thought to help reduce nervousness. It can calm anxiety, and actually can even help you to drift off to sleep more quickly, right? So if you're having troubles at night sleeping, it helped me because it actually brings you back to your center. So when I say that, it means it calms your nervous system, right? So it helps you to break out the fight or flight response, right? Which is triggered by fear. And remember, fear is not just me being afraid because I'm jumping out of a plane with a parachute, right? Fear is manifested in things such as, like I mentioned earlier, lack of self-worth, lack of confidence, you have trouble believing that you are going to be successful, you are finding it hard to find inner peace, these are all rooted in fear, right? So once we start calming our nervous system, we're able to be centered again, right? So is basically focusing solely on your breath. And I'm just going to quickly go through it with you all, right? The reason why it's called 4-7-8. So what we do, we inhale for 4 seconds. So you would inhale right through your nose. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and you would hold for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and exhale for 8. And you want to do it loud, like really. You can do the funniest like sounds with your mouth, and you did it for 8 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And you want to do that for at least 30 seconds. So I'll repeat it, right? So inhale for 4 seconds, holding for 7, and exhaling for 8. And before we close off this webinar, I just want to share 5 steps. So outside of everything that we've done today, to release self-limiting beliefs. And I've shared this on my Instagram as well. Number 1, honestly, just observe. Observe. I think what we kind of have, one of the key things that we learned today is observe. You are not your belief. You are not your experiences. You are not the person that bullied you, right? So just observe what is going on. Remember, second step. So remember that beliefs are merely energy created from external experiences. Remember, the experience is not happening inside of you, right? You had it at one point and you're holding on to it now. It is an external experience. It is outside of you. What are you creating on the inside, right? Remember it, and just always pulling yourself back from that. Number 3, get them out. What saved my life is, I think I have around 180 notebooks and journals. Get them out. Get your self-limiting beliefs out, okay? Acknowledge them, cry it out, vent to your best friend, vent to your mom, vent to your grandma, vent to your work colleague, whoever there is, or even if it's an online forum, if you don't have a single friend, there are online forums that have people, for example, meetup.com, where you can go and there are people that have similar interests. Acknowledge the beliefs that you're going through and the narrative you're telling yourself, and then release. So really acknowledge it and release it through writing, speaking, or drawing, anything creative, right? And you want to get it onto a piece, like I have a notebook that I always have around me, and any thoughts that you can just jot down straight away, right? Number 4, choose a new belief. Remember how we went through in the beginning, cognitive behavioral therapy, right? So we have the emotion, what you're feeling right now on one side, the line in the middle. The next one, choose a new belief. What are you replacing that thought with, right? And number 5, repeat, rinse and repeat until they're released, right? Rinse and repeat. This is honestly practice. I certainly didn't wake up confident. I definitely didn't, sorry. So we're on the next slide now. This is the last slide. I want to close off with some affirmations. To be honest with you all, affirmations saved my life. I still don't think that I would have ever been able to be confident at all if it wasn't for my mom. So she really was insisting. And even when I was so sad that I couldn't even focus, when you're sobbing so hard that you can't even focus and get any words out, she would stand me in front of the mirror and we would chant these affirmations. You are beautiful. Your uniqueness is your power. Your voice matters, right? The science behind this, and we didn't even know this back then. All my mom she was doing her best, to uplift her daughter, right? And the science is really simple. Remember Hebb's rule in the beginning. The more you repeat it and the more you hear it, and I'm saying you have to say it out loud, the more you start believing it. And I mean, really believe it, okay? So much, and this is where I'm at right now, that no outside influence can make you change your mind about it, right? And you slowly actualize an environment with that wanted desire, whether that's confidence, inner peace, or I don't know, $1 million, whatever you want, you can manifest that, right? Because you start believing it. Remember, neurons that fire together, wire together. It's repetition. So I want to do some affirmations with you all. If you can all repeat them after me, I'll say it out loud, and then we will repeat it together afterwards, the second one, right? So the first one, I view myself through kind eyes. I view myself through kind eyes. Others love me for who I truly am. Others love me for who I truly am. I believe in myself and my power. I believe in myself and my power. I deserve everything I desire. I'm just going to put that, like, I deserve everything I desire. I love who I am inside and out. I love who I am inside and out. I feel joyful to see how far I have come. And remember, it doesn't matter where you are right now. It does not matter. I feel joyful to see how far I have come. I give praise to myself and others naturally and effortlessly. I accept and embrace myself for who I am. I accept and embrace myself for who I am. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. Forgive yourself for all the times you doubted yourself. Forgive yourself for all the times you didn't believe that you could actually succeed at it. The last one before we close off, I contribute my thoughts and ideas easily. I contribute my thoughts and ideas easily. And please remember, optimism is a learnable skill, okay? I did not wake up optimistic. It's a learnable skill. Right, so that's it. Thank you so much for listening. So we've got some questions now, right?
Yeah, thank you so much, Shakira, for
You're
all of that
welcome.
great information, wonderful tips. I'm so excited. So we do have a couple of questions that come in, a few thanks and shout outs as well coming in the chat box. One of the first questions we had was, can you share the name of the book that you discussed in the beginning?
Which book did you speak about again?
You know, it is a question that came in the chat box. So I don't know exactly.
Okay, so there's an author. So it's a psychologist. His name is Donald Hebb. It's not actually from a book, but it's a theory from a psychologist. His name is Donald, and Hebb as an H-E-B-B, right? So he came up with Hebb's rule, which basically speaks about forming neural pathways with repetition of us chanting something or repeating in mindfulness exercise. So it's not from a book. I'm pretty sure he's probably published several reports and case studies, but this is from a theory that is penned, and most psychologists and neurobiologists are aware of it.
Okay, thank you. And I had a request that if you could share the affirmations list.
Yeah, so how do you want me to share? To share the screen or?
Yeah, can you maybe share a screen? Is that okay? And everyone, if they want it, if you can, if you have it on a screen,
absolutely.
maybe we can like screenshot it.
Also, I just want to mention, right? So without trying to plug something, but I actually wrote a book on affirmations. So if you want to find affirmations and a gratitude journal, I actually wrote about this, and I have 50 different affirmations with a workbook inside as well. So I will do my best to share the screen. So
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was actually one of the questions I was going to ask next, is where could people like go for further resources on this? So your book is a perfect place to start.
It's on Amazon. It's available worldwide, in every country in the world. If you just you can, it sounds stupid, just Google me. So Shakira Stern, and it's on Amazon. This is affirmations. You can just see, like, I'm just like, I don't know if you can see it in the camera. Can you see it?
Kind of hard, but
like this, yeah. But I can actually find the link for you guys and I can just put it in the chat. Just give me one moment. Yeah, because it's always easier when we have it in front of us rather than if you have to make it up as you go along. As for me, I kind of made it up as I went along and then I wrote them specifically for me. Okay, so I'm going to share it in the chat. Okay.
Thank you so much.
So this is the link. And inside of here also, there is a gratitude journal. And when I say gratitude journal, I mean, again, this is just like my green screen, but there are every day takes you through 5 things that you want to achieve today. I'll just go a bit for, I don't know if you can see it. Or, then 3 things that you forgive yourself for, 3 things you learned today, 5 things you're grateful for, and 5 things you are proud of today, right? And I found it easier just to have it in front of me rather than, sometimes I feel we can find excuses to not do this because we feel tired, lazy, or we feel it won't make a difference. So if you have it in front of you, there is no excuse. Just, I put it next to my bed, you know, wake up, here we go, just write it.
Hey, we had a request. So Stephanie, would you be able to maybe stop the screen share, and then Shakira, maybe you'll be able to hold that up again and we might be able to see it a little bit better.
Can you see it?
Oh, much better. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, forget about my face, just the book. So this is the book. Yes, I think Katie just wrote it as well. And the affirmations. So there are affirmations for every day. Oh, I think I'm like, yeah. It's like here. Yeah, here. It's a bit awkward. Yeah, but
it is.
There is, yeah. And if you just follow the link as well on Amazon, and I feel this is, it's helped me a lot. I wrote it for things that I came across that I had to change narratives. So for example, there's one in here where it says, my healing accelerates when I'm my true authentic self, right? So any of you in the chat right now, if you feel you're only just starting out, it's okay. It's not too late. You are going to be starting a journey that will take you to many different places, and that's exciting in itself. But you have to have compassion for yourself, because if you don't, you are, you know, you're not doing yourself any favors, right? And you will hold your progress. So really just be compassionate with yourself on that. So I can see the questions. Are there any more questions?
Yeah, so another question I saw coming through the question box was, how long does one need to do these mindfulness exercises to start seeing a change?
So, I mean, realistically, you want to do it for at least 21 days if you are looking to start reprogramming your mind and the way you look at positive. And it's not just thinking, this is a way about how we feel. So I feel like there's a bit of a disconnect in society with, oh, just positive thinking, like that's not realistic. You know, how can you feel good about yourself? So you want to do at least 21 days, and the real change starts after 66 days. So you want to do it at least for 2 months. Really important.
Great, thank you. And next question was, can you meditate with music, or does it have to be completely quiet space?
No, this is also like, sometimes I feel like almost like I'm not this kind of like Buddha, like Buddhist person, but I sometimes just put music on and that's okay. You know, if you want to have music, it is honestly, is actually just about how you can calm your mind. That's why I made a joke when I was talking about sitting at a waterfall and saying, you know, you determine what is calming and relaxing for you, right? So if it is music that you're playing, it may actually help you more to just switch off rather than, I feel for me, it's just not realistic, me sitting in a room and there's no noise. So having like a calming music, you can go on YouTube, you know, I've got sound bowls, and then I have another prop. I have my incense sticks here with patchouli. So yeah, it doesn't matter, you can play some music, that's fine.
Great. I think we have time for this one last question. Does journaling count as a mindfulness exercise?
Yes, 100%. So journaling, like I mentioned earlier, it helps you to really structure your thoughts, but also release any thoughts that you have that may start to build resentment or, depression, anxiety. It really helps to really compartmentalize how you feel about, situations, experiences, and how you connect with yourself and others. So journaling, I would say, is one of the most important mindfulness exercises you can do. I just wanted to make sure today that I share the ones that probably people aren't as aware of, and just to start off. But journaling, if you can, literally just getting a piece of paper and writing down what you feel and really change your day.
Thank you so much, Shakira. So we are kind of running up on time. Is there any last thought you want to leave us with before we wrap up this webinar?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, honestly, all of you in this chat are capable of doing this and finding a way to feel more calm inside and find your inner peace. This is not, please don't put me on a pedestal. I am just here to guide you because I've been there myself, and it took a lot of practice. It's something that I'm still continuously learning. I feel like I'm a student of life. So all I can do is just share my knowledge, and you are able to do it at whatever stage of life you are in right now. So I just want everybody to remember this. You can do it regardless how old you are, what job you have, where you live in the world. Okay. And you can do this anywhere, really anywhere. Okay. And I want everybody to know you don't need to be some guru or anyone can do this, and you can reprogram your mind. It really is a muscle. Just as you go to the gym, you can reprogram those hardwiring in our brains. And just want everyone to know that it is possible, and there is hope. There is a lot of hope for you, and you can fix it.
Well, thank you so much, Shakira, for being here today, for sharing with us all of your great tips. And I'm really excited to take some of that back and look for the book as well.
You're welcome.
So before we conclude the webinar, I just have one more kind of thing I want to talk about. And that is some resources from NAA. So we'd like to take a minute to remind you of the COVID-19 Rental Housing Support Initiative that was created to help our industry survive and thrive through the course of the pandemic. So please check out all the mental health resources on the webpage listed here. So we will have that up there for you as well. In addition, you now have a new book to go out and check out. And I want to thank everyone for their time and being here today. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your Thursday. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you so much. Lots of love. Bye-bye.